4 straight games with second half shutouts. You didn't just say that, did you?
No, it's a great stat.
4 straight games with second half shutouts. 94 straight game minutes of shutout defense.
Wow.
Right now, it's, to me, their defensive line, in a weird way, it gets so much credit. Like when people talk about it that aren't just immersed in it, it's not as good as it's been. It's just they're missing guys, right? They're just 97, and then they got a lot of random guys. Armstead's nowhere to be found. Sampson's now been banged up for a couple weeks. But the secondary, like the back seven, which the front seven, the linebackers are always included, but the back seven is tackling incredibly well. Yeah. And Hufanga is basically like a third linebacker on the field. I mean, he just such a sure tackler right now. So Fred Warner does not miss a tackle. Greenlaw's been fantastic. And then Hufanga basically is like the third of those guys. And then their DBs just don't really get smoked. And even if they do give up a play, like the guys get tackled pretty quickly. There just aren't. You watch football all Saturday. Saturday's way worse than Sunday. But even Sunday, like you just see blown coverages and easy 50, 60-yard plays. That just is. The Niners just do not give up explosive plays. Today they did on the one that they got bailed out by the challenge because he, I guess, technically fumbled, but we all know he didn't really. But that just doesn't happen to him very often. And it's going to be, honestly, this week's going to be fun because those fucking guys fly around. Tua throwing bombs. Mike's obviously not that long with D'Amico, but like went against D'Amico for a year in practice when he was the defensive coordinator and just knows the personnel. Like, this is going to be a big, big test. And ultimately, like, their skill guys scare me more than Tua. But it's a big week for Kaceric's boys. Like, they need a little more pressure than they got today.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought they got close a lot. They did not get home a lot. And I thought Dalton actually operated in the pocket pretty well in terms of just knowing when to get rid of the ball. And then a couple times I thought they got a little unlucky. There are a couple times not like 3 Niners defenders would end up on top of each other, losing contain, John. And Dalton could just find a little way to leak out of the pocket. But
yeah,
I think Tua can just make more plays, A, and B, their guys are just harder to cover for a long period of time. So you do have to get home. Now, I haven't dived into the Dolphins game today. I did see they're a little beat up on their offensive line, I think. So that'll be something to watch for this week, Miami. But I don't know. You just know. You shouldn't. There's also a separate conversation, which is you shouldn't have to hold a team to 10 points to win. Right.
Do you think Fred Warner should be in the defensive player of the year discussion? Because he's not really, but he's clearly one of the best defensive players. But it's pretty clear. It's like Micah Parsons feels like he's the leader in the clubhouse. Bosa's definitely in the conversation. I'd say I watched some clips of Myles Garrett today. He crushed Brady on one. His team's so shitty. I just don't think he can win it.
I think he had 2 sacks today, Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett. I mean, you watch him, you go, Jesus Christ, take this guy on my squad.
Yeah.
But Fred, every time they play, he's a top 2 or 3 player on the field. I mean, he's killing people. Was that a joke?
I'm just looking at the odds. Matthew Judon. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought of it because it feels like everybody universally accepted that Fred Warner is one of the best linebacker in the league. You remember that? Where it was like everybody, like 2 years ago, everyone's like, best linebacker in the league. Tony Romo saying it, just everybody saying it.
Remember Rodgers? I think it was the year after that they had beat him, and they hit Devontae on that one to win the walk-off field goal. Or hell, shit, it might have been last year. On the week 3, went up to him and tapped him on the butt and was like, "You're the best linebacker in the league."
Yeah. Then he felt like kind of had a down year.
Maybe that was 2 years ago. And then, yeah.
And then last year, but you're right. When you watch him every week, he makes plays every single week. Fundamental plays he makes. Doesn't feel like he ends up downfield, like up the seam in coverage much. It's like that no one even bothers.
But how about his end zone PBU today?
He has multiple PBUs. He's in the backfield a ton. Creates turnovers. Is around turnovers. Yeah, you're right. He's playing like he does look like he's. I hadn't watched him that way this year, but you do watch him and go.
One scouting term I used to type in for linebackers that were good at blitzing their burst to close. When he is untouched or they have a good some action up front and the blitzer, he covers ground like Bowman and Willis did. He is on the quarterback so fucking fast. It's stupid. It's like he's shot out of a cannon.
Yeah. Burst to close.
Burst to close, and he
I like
closes that fucking thing fast.
Like, you know, who's also great? Hufunga on like a screen Hufunga when he reads the play right is as fast as anybody. It feels like.
Well, I would say his ability to, in a scouting term, would be to trigger on the ball is second to none right now in the NFL from a DB standpoint. Like he plays. I bet he's getting a lot of respect in the old school, like guys that played in the 90s or 2000s that are just at their house texting their buddies like over a cocktail in their big mansion somewhere. They're like last year they played was like 0-2, and they're just watching Niners play, and they're texting their other defensive buddies that they played on units with. Like, I fucking love this Hufunga guy, man. This league's gone soft, but this guy could have played with us.
I just pulled up. I don't.
He actually led the team in tackles today. Hufunga did.
Did he?
Yeah. He had 6 solo tackles, guy.
Wow.
Which is pretty damn good. But like I said, he does not miss tackles in space. How often does Hufunga in a one-on-one position, to me, what makes him unique as a hitter, like to me, like the Fred Warners, Luke Kuechly's, Bowman's, Willis's, most linebackers that are really physical that KO you are also just fantastic, like open field tacklers. It's just they get paid to tackle. Sometimes safeties and DBs that are big hitters, it's like, sometimes they just fly with their shoulders, and if the dude stops, he just come flying by. For a big hitter, he actually is very under control, I feel like, in space.
Well, is he as big of a hitter as his hair makes you think he is?
Yeah, I mean, he's not John Lynch or, yeah, for sure. He's not actually KOing guy. But I think because a couple times he's been in positions where the flags come out, I wonder if he kind of scales it back a little more than you realize.
Yeah. I just pulled up, I just went to PFF, pulled up the tackling grades. Whatever you think of that, but I've never spent much time looking at their tackling grades. I tend to use it more for just like raw numbers, like how many pressures does a quarterback under whatever. Number one tackling grade in the league, Tayshaun Gibson, then Bobby Wagner, then Nick Bolton from the Chiefs, then then Mooney Ward. Those are the top 4. Julian Blackmon of the Colts, Jamal Dean, corner from Tampa, Winfield, corner from Tampa.
The sample size with a corner is probably like with Ward is so much lower, right?
I mean, yeah, it's got to be.
But he's a good tackler too.
Yeah, I mean, Tayshaun Gibson's got 29 tackles, so you're right. Mooney's got 43 though, which is 10 less than Bobby Wagner. Same number of games.
You think Bobby regrets? I don't even know who else was trying to sign him.
Yeah, I don't. Probably not. He's won his championship, right?
That's the thing. Like, listen. Ultimately, Richard, when they cut him, went on 2 years later after the injury to have an all-pro season. For the most part, has Pete kind of been right on some of the guys they've relieved of their duties? It's like, Bobby, you've played here for 10 years. We've paid you a lot of money. We've won a lot of games. We think your arrow's going the wrong way. So we're going to cut you.
It just would have been, but everything you just said, they didn't say any of that. They just didn't text.
Well, yeah, they didn't communicate it right.
That was the problem.
It does feel, though, when guys, really emotional players, feel like they shouldn't get cut. And right, because they got a lot of pride. They think they can still play. No, the right move was to cut you. John should have just called you first, for sure. Which 100, I'm not disputing that. That's actually pretty embarrassing. Because, he doesn't even have an agent to call. So you actually called Rap Sheet first? Come on, guys. Let's be better.
A couple PIs on the Niners defensively, but I don't know. I thought some of them were. If I might make myself a DB coach, John, just travel the world and tell guys, just don't do the hand gesture where you put your hands up right away while you're wearing white gloves and the ref can just see your hands go up. Shit happens. I don't know. There's pass interferences occur. It's really impressive in 1 year how they've gone from being a liability downfield in coverage to being fine.
I would say Lenore is dramatically improved, clearly. Right? I mean, he's a serviceable player. Safety play is a lot better than last year, and Hufunga's gotten better. And they've added Ward. So their defensive backfield is just – and this is part of the deal when you draft a player. And listen, people well, you got to give him time whenever you're being critical of a player, which is true. But when a young player is struggling, especially a rookie, if he's on the Lions or the Jags, whatever, we're not talking about the Lions or the Jags. We're talking about a team that's trying to win playoff games. So it's like, Ambry Thomas or Lenore, like this is a problem. But that doesn't mean like over the offseason they won't be much better next year. Like, yeah. But the Niners had to use those guys last year. It happens all around the league for people that talk about a specific team or specific players. Like, give this guy time. Well, what team's he on? Right? Is he on the Eagles? Because they're going to need that guy to produce right now. If he's on the fucking Texans, like, yeah, I'll just let it breathe. You're not getting cut. But that's like if Ty Davis Price has to play these next couple of weeks, he's got to play. He's got to contribute, right? Doesn't mean in 3 years he could be. If you tell me in 2025, 49ers starting running back Ty Davis Price, very believable. Happens all the time. Hell, he could be the starting running back next year, for all I know. But we're gonna be like, however it goes against the Dolphins, assuming he plays, which by attrition he might not have a choice. Or the Commanders or whoever in these next several weeks, like you got to talk about how he's playing then. That's how the coaches, like, it's not like Kyle's like, give it time, guys. We got 3 years. Well, yeah, I mean, we got 60 snaps this week. We got to make some of them count.
He's on a rookie deal, everybody. We're just getting our money's worth. Yeah. Niners have given up 2 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, by the way. Since the bye. They've given up three touchdowns. Or 2 touchdowns. One to the Chargers, one to the Cardinals. Nothing today.
I would say the Herbert thing was relatively impressive, but they were playing, Keenan Allen wasn't there. Keenan Allen looked pretty good today. I know Mike Williams came back, was it last week, and got hurt immediately. There can't be a worse feeling than having a sprained ankle. First catch, go up, get it, land on the ankle. I mean, that pain has to be like, fuck me. And then the last 2 weeks, I mean, I like the guy, and I think he's a good backup quarterback, but they've played 2 backup quarterbacks, right? Colt McCoy and Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Like you put Herbert on this Saints team today, for example, I think it would have been a little different animal.
No question. But you just don't face Justin Herberts most weeks.
No. And even this week, like I know
you got to beat those guys in the playoffs. You win a division just by taking care of your business week to week.
For sure. And they have.